time here with Chris Miller. If you're watching this on Muscle Central, make sure you go to Chris Miller's channel, Buffy the Iron Slayer. If you're watching it there, make sure you come over here to Muscle Channel and check out my content. Okay, Chris, Big Ramy.
Yeah.
On the scene a few years ago, everybody was blown away by this massive guy on stage. We expected a lot of things. A long time coming, finally gets the title of Mr. Olympia. Is he what everybody expected him to be?
I think no disrespect to like later generations, but I just don't think that people know what to look for in a bodybuilder these days. And maybe that even goes towards what the judges are awarding. But then again, Ramy got lucky, I think, because rest in peace. Sean Roden wasn't there. Phil Heath is still kind of recovering from his operation for his abs, and then who else isn't really there anymore? I mean, Branch Warren was pretty, he was amazing.
Well, Branch, Branch Warren just did a video about him. People don't realize if it wasn't for Jay Cutler, Branch Warren was Mr. Olympia. Warren he beat a sitting Mr. Olympia because going into that show in 2009, Dexter Jackson was the Mr. Olympia. He placed third behind Branch and ultimately Jay Cutler, who took the title.
That's right, yeah. And that year, I mean, Branch was so grainy. I mean, he was like Dorian Yates grainy. And
Yeah.
I mean, Jay was right there too. But I think Branch might have had Jay beat a little bit on the grainy factor. It's just Jay just has a better looking physique, and he's huge.
So what's his fascination with Big Ramy?
Yeah, I mean, I again going back to what I don't think people know what to look for. It's just he's not symmetrical, and at least pleasing enough to the eye. He's almost like a Tom Platz. His thighs and his leg sweep's so big, but then there's not really like this year, last year, or whatever, he had some pretty good separation, but it's just not, I mean, it's just not like what I want to see, I mean, I remember when Jay Cutler did that leg stomp. I mean, his leg was just absolutely spectacular,
Well, you
and
mentioned, I'm sorry, you mentioned Tom Platz. Tom Platz also, like Big Ramy, had these legs that were much, much bigger than proportion wise to the upper body. But with Tom Platz, his legs, they look the shape, look the way a leg is supposed to look.
yes,
They were enormous. I mentioned this before in videos that I did. I think there's something else going on with Ramy's legs. There's
well,
something with the shape that I really can't pin pin it down, but there's something about it that does not look right.
yeah, and to backpedal just a little bit, like it would be an insult to say Ramy's legs were on par with Tom Platz. The
Yeah,
only the only comparison I meant for was like the proportions, and that's why they didn't give Tom Platz the Olympia supposedly, just because they said his legs were too big for his upper body, But I mean, it was a scam that Colombo won. I mean, Padilla or Platt should have won that year.
Padilla, but I would go with Danny Padilla on that one.
Yeah,
Isn't funny they say that about with Tom Platz the legs, but you'll never hear them tell you that your arms were too big.
right. Yeah, I mean, like you could apply that to Arnold. Arnold's arms were quote unquote too big, but it looked amazing anyways.
Well, even his arms were. proportioned properly. First off, his buys were too big for a little too big for his tries. And if you notice when he does the double bicep, it's more noticeable when it's a front double bicep. The actual shape of the bicep is a little different. One side ties in a little differently than the other side. But like you said, it's still amazing.
Yeah, and so going back to Big Ramy, the fascination. So I want like making that comparison. You know, Tom Platt's proportions and stuff. That's like to me, he's right now like kind of like a Tom Platts in a way. Like his legs are gigantic, his thighs are gigantic. In fact, his legs, I mean, his calves aren't quite on par with his thighs for one. And then like he's got really wide shoulders, and that kind of matches his silhouette of his thighs, but the quality of the muscle in the thighs is not what I want to see. You know, to be not taking anything away from him, he's amazing. He puts in all the work and all the dedication, you know, whatever. But like again, if he were to compete with some of the guys back in the '90s, early 2000s, he wouldn't stand a chance. I mean, Marcus Rule would beat him. You know.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Marcus Rule was far from having a pretty physique. He was like a bunch of muscle thrown together all over.
But it
But
was awesome.
and he actually brought conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, brought conditioning, so it was pretty amazing. But when Ramy popped on the scene, it wasn't just the fans; it was the bodybuilding insiders also that were buzzing about him. But I think it's part of it's a psychological thing. It's like he is big. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He had a huge frame, and when Jay Cutler had made the comments that there was never been anybody put together like him, it's kind of right, but it's how he's put together. And I think he popped on the scene, just the size and the structure. I remember seeing him, it was a second New York Pro win, standing next to Victor Martinez, and he made Victor Martinez look like a child.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was when everybody saw that, that like just captivated them. Then they had all these expectations with him. But I also think the closer you look at his physique, the more you can pick it apart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what bodybuilding really is all about. I mean, if you got the number one guy, he's going to be under you know the microscope. And you know, like you, I've been a bodybuilder nut for a long time. You know, it's been close to 30 years for me. You know, and like I've been a fan since the early '90s, and it's just like I don't know. For me, like Ramy really doesn't have what I would call a champion bodybuilder physique. Like, and as a matter of fact, I liked Hadi Chupin way more than
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, if you start to pick it apart, for all his size, his arms are actually a little small for the rest of his. Although his legs are definitely way out of proportion, but his arms are a little small for the rest of his upper body. If you
and
want,
he's got big arms too, which is crazy. I mean, they're big,
yeah,
but you know,
and when he turns around from the back, uh, he's missing a lot in the lower back. He
right?
doesn't
Yeah,
have, not only his lats tie in a little high, but that's I think that could be people look past that when you have good thickness going all the way down through the back. I think it actually helps take away a little bit from what you see when a person has high tying in lats. And his back is definitely needs some work. And his conditioning was good when he won Mr. Olympia, but it wasn't. Uh, it was far from spot on conditioning. And like
and
you
you
said,
know,
he wasn't there.
and you know, and again, I'm not our goal here isn't to talk down on him or nothing. He looked great, right? But it's just like just not what we want to see. Us being fans for such a long time and seeing all the physiques we've seen before, and like again, like Hadi Chupin, man, I heard the story about how he was trying to get to Olympia last year, and he had a hell of a time because of COVID and like
Oh,
getting a visa going on, and he had trouble like getting laid up places, waiting for flights, and so of course, when you're that close to a show, food and water is so fucking important.
yeah. The
And
ch- alone can fuck up just the flight alone. Your body needs a few days to adjust from the effects of the flight on the body.
and he's coming from way far away, and I think it was Chris Aceto was the one talking about it, I believe. I think it was Chris Aceto, and then he said that um, the first day when Hadi got there, he wasn't as hard as the second day, of course, but it was from all what he went through just to get to the Olympian, and to
Yeah.
hearing the story and how he looked. I think I would have looked way worse. And then the second night he tightened up and he looked amazing. But it,
Yeah.
like
He, he,
they went with Ramy.
on the judges' scorecard, he came in second on the finals the second night. Yeah, that was 2020. That was actually last year he got in. I believe between a week and 2 weeks before the show in
Oh,
2021. But in 2020, he got in just he got in just under the wire. It was like, is this guy going to get here? Is he going to get here? All of a sudden, I'm here. I'm seeing the on YouTube popping up breaking news. Hadi lands. I think it was. I think he landed Thursday,
mhm.
and the show starts Friday. So
Wow.
yeah, that's pretty amazing what he did in that short period of time. My question now is: Ramy won 2020 on a special invite. He retained the title 2021. Did
Mhm.
he win it in your mind 2020, and did he retain it, do enough to retain it in 2021?
Um, I mean, I'm going with Hadi Chupin. I liked him both years. I think he has a better, way more pleasing physique. Yeah, he's not as big as Ramy, but I mean, he's like 2, 3 inches shorter. So who cares, And like his body proportions are what make him amazing to me. He's got fantastic legs, great calves, great back, amazing shoulders, good biceps, triceps, amazing chest. He has no weak points at all. I mean, can you think of a
Uh,
weak point on Hadi Chupin?
it looks like he looks like a statue carved out of stone that just came to life.
Dude,
That's
I
really
hope
that's what it looks like.
I hope he wins, man. And if Sean Clarita can win the 212 at 178 pounds, 5 foot
Yeah.
two, Hadi Chupin can do it. I think what is he, like 5'6"? You know,
Hadi, I think is between 5'6" and 5'7". I'm
Dexter
really not sure,
Jackson,
but yeah, yeah.
he's 5'6".
Well, what I mentioned about Hadi with his conditioning, I've compared. Some people think I'm crazy when I compare him, but I'm comparing conditioning wise. He reminds me of '93 Dorian Yates.
When
The
he's
way Dorian Yates looked on stage, it was '93. He was he was carved out of stone. He was marble that came to life, and that's the kind of
Yeah.
conditioning that Hadi brings. So you don't think Ramy? Okay, the 2020 it was Ramy took first, uh, Brandon second, Phil Heath third, Hadi fourth, and I think it was Bonac fifth.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, you remember that? How
Hmm.
how would you how would you have placed that?
Mm. You're
Hakeem
asking.
Williams sixth. Hakeem Williams sixth. How would you have placed that?
I mean, it's pretty close to what it probably should have been. Uh, I'll put my hottie Chupin fan thing aside, and what was it? Brendan was set. It was third, right?
Brandon actually, Brandon came in second. They gave Phil Heath third, and
Um,
Heidi was
you
fourth.
know, I don't think Phil Heath deserved the third place. I'll say that.
No,
I
not at
mean,
all.
in fact, switch him and Hottie for sure, for sure. In fact, now that we say that, I remember that year a little bit more now. I remember thinking, yeah, Hottie should have been at least top three that year, you
Yeah,
know. And that's when I think that's the year I noticed him actually, and I was like, holy shit, this guy looks amazing.
yeah.
And then it was the next year where I was like so disappointed. I thought he should have won, you know.
Well, if you were scoring it, how would you have? Where would you have placed Rami? Because we're trying to figure out what's going on with Rami over here. How would you have placed him?
Hmm. Well, I'd say top three, I guess. I mean, there's no one really around right now that's better who stands out to me. I mean, um, what's his
I
name?
actually would have given him three. I would have given him third place on. I had
Zeus,
uh,
shut up. Sorry,
calm
sorry.
down, calm down. Fella. I mean, I'm first and second. I think it could have went either way with Brandon and or Hardy. Two totally different physiques, depending on what your preference was. But I definitely had both of them ahead of Rami. Now, okay, so we both agree about Rami. He's a, would he's safe to say we both agree that he's a little overrated.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
Okay, it's safe to say we both agree about 2020 Miss Olympia. He came in like I think a little bigger in 2021. What's your assessment of his 2021 physique?
Yeah, I mean, I think he looked his best ever for Rami 2021. Yeah. He's each year he comes back, he's getting his conditioning better. He's looking harder. He's looking more muscle maturity. Still not quite what I want to see, but you know.
Yeah, I actually think he looked a little blocky
Mm.
in 2021. I think I personally thought the conditioning was a little better in 2020, and there was just something a little different in the look to me. Like I said, I think he looked a little on the blocky side. Do you think he deserved that victory also?
Who? Um, nah, I mean, that was the year Hottie got second, right?
Brandon still got second. Hadi was back in third place that year.
Yeah, I'm just not quite like I think Brandon Curry looks amazing, but his upper body's too big for his lower body. So I keep going back to symmetry. I'm a symmetry fan. May call me a little old school, but I'd rather see symmetry than someone who looks freaky in a few areas. You know?
Did he beat? So you don't- do you did he think? Do you think he beat High
No,
in 2020?
nah. Oh, 2020?
No, 2021. Now, this past Olympia, we
No.
established that he should have been third place in 2020.
Yeah, no. I'm still gonna go with Hottie for 2021 for sure. He's my number one pick.
You know what? I could be wrong, but I can't recall them. We see them next to each other in the pose downs, but
Mm.
I don't recall them next to each other in the comparisons, and if they were next to each other too much in the comparisons.
I think you're right. I think I remember noticing that, and I was like, "What the hell?" Yeah, I think you're right. And I think they put Hottie more to the side and less lighting too, didn't they?
Yeah, sometimes it depends. Go back to the '98 Olympia. Ronnie Coleman wasn't in the first call out.
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman wasn't in the second call out. And then I can remember when he was watching a video when he's finally called out and Flex Wheeler is back. He's watching Ronnie's call out. He's watching from behind, and he's recalling how he was saying, "What are they missing with this guy?" So in '98, when he ultimately won, he wasn't even in the second call out. And it
Right.
my where I was going was finally they put him next to these other guys, and look what happened. He won the title.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to tell until you actually have the two guys next to each other, and then you
Yeah.
can really make an assessment.
Yeah,
Then
absolutely.
start getting exposed.
It's like when you see like pictures of Brandon Curry or Rolly Winkler, you know, on Instagram or in the gym, and they look like no one in this world could ever beat them. But then you see them next to someone else, you're like, oh no.
That was Dennis James also. Dennis James was always the Mr.
Oh
Olympia
yeah,
of
yeah.
the gym. He was always the Mr. Olympia in the gym. What do you think is going to go happen with Ramy this year? I made a video about this. My personal opinion is uh, I differ in what judges saw for the 2020 Mr. Olympia, but I won't beat a dead horse on that one. Uh, he got the win. I think they gave him a bye in 21, much like Jake Cutler in 2007. It was a lot of controversy with the win over Victor Martinez.
Yeah.
And the buzz going into 2008 was that he's not going to get a bye this time. He better bring it. Because if he doesn't bring it, he's not leaving with the title. And what ultimately happened, Dexter Jackson took the title.
Yeah.
Don't think Ramy, I think it's going to be a similar situation. He's not going to get a bye.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be very kind to him and let things slide. He's going to have to bring it. And my personal opinion is uh, he's not going to bring it. And I think this guest posing, I don't know if you realize, up until the time of the show, everybody expected him to be there. Nobody had any idea. And when Dennis James, who was supposed to be in charge of his training, he's the one he stays with leading up to the show, Dennis James had no idea where he was. So I'm not very confident that he has it all. And I said it before in other videos. I don't think he has it all together mentally to be a dominant champion. I, quickly, and I'll let you jump in. I've said it before. I questioned his. He's almost childlike, I think, in some ways. Maybe to some people it wouldn't mean anything, but it stuck out to me. I noticed in one clip of guest posing with Rolly Winkler, it might have been in India. You know, Rolly always came out in the cut-off shorts, the sneakers, and the hat turned
Mhm.
sideways.
Yeah.
Rolly came out dressed exactly like, Ramy came out dressed exactly like Rolly. Like he's trying, Rolly was really popular. You know, I want to be like Rolly, and he's trying to emulate him.
Yeah.
I see a training video with Kai. He's he's dressed exactly the way Kai dresses when he trains. And once again, Kai with all his popularity, let me be like Kai. I don't know about you or other people, but to me that seems almost childlike.
He's trying to find himself still.
Yeah, he's not totally comfortable or secure with himself. So I do think and I think that's part of the reason why he hasn't been able to bring it. How he's went through more coaches than I don't know who else. To me, all that is a little bit of insecurity. I don't think he's bringing it. I think we're going to see a new Mr. Olympia, and I got a couple of ideas who just might be ready to step in and fill those shoes. Is he going to be a three-time Mr. Olympia, Chris?
Oh God, I hope not. I want anyone to step in and win, please. Something, but it would be great is if Kai Green would come back and just, he looks like he's still
Yeah,
I think he's like 320 pounds still, man.
but I know even though he looks like that now, it's still a different story. We haven't seen him on a stage next to other competitors, and even with Kai, leading up to shows, what we saw of him just before the shows in video clips, he never quite brought that to the stage anyway. So, yeah, he's still in great shape. He's still carrying a lot of size, but until I actually see him on the stage again, next to other competitors, it's hard to say.
I
And
think
you know,
if Kai could bring his best, like his best few appearances he's brought in before in the past, if he can bring that, that would beat Ramy any day.
yeah, he definitely could. Uh, in a lot of ways, Pi is freakier than uh, than Rami.
Yo, dude, Kai Green's muscle maturity is beyond, and it's because you ever watch his videos, I'm sure, he gets way into it. He's like, he's all philosophical and kind of weird about it, but you can tell that his mind is in the muscle and he is shaping that shit with his mind, like
I,
he
I
knows
was
how to
watching him.
bodybuild.
I was watching him since he was an amateur.
Yeah.
I have some clips of him somewhere stashed away on videotape of him competing as an amateur. So I've watched his development. Also, a quick note. I think maybe we should start trying to round this up with Kai Green. He was always very open, also with what he was doing when you talked to him one on one. I remember one of the shows that I was competing in. You know, he, he did turn pro natural.
Yeah, I think I
He
remember hearing something
he
about that. Yeah.
turned pro natural. I remember talking to him. He was at one of the booths leading up to where we were when we were walking in after we signed in, and he he was talking about how he made the transition. He actually competed his first couple of shows natural, and he was told straight up that if he wants to be a top dog, much like what Flex Wheeler told Ronnie Coleman,
Yeah.
uh, and when we talked to him, he had no qualms about telling us what he was doing. He wasn't, oh no, I don't do that stuff. He had no problems being upfront.
Yeah. I appreciate that when people are real and upfront like that. It's funny. I've known some people over the years that are the funny one I always hear from people who are lying. They're like, "Oh, I have a myostatin deficiency," and it's like they think that like they're the only one who's heard that before. Like, dude, very few people ever have a myostatin deficiency, and like there's just some people I've known over time who've claimed that shit, and like I just know they're using. It's like, all right, whatever makes you feel better and sleep at night, whatever you gotta
You
tell
know
yourself.
what? It's obvious, even to the layperson. It's the layperson will accuse almost anybody with a great body of using, but it's obvious to anybody that the top level bodybuilders are all on, and by uh, when they know you're lying about one thing, it's very easy to question anything else
Yeah,
that you say.
your
I always
credibility.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying your credibility.
Yeah, honesty is the best policy. It's an old saying, and it's true. Let
There.
me ask you last question. Big
Oh,
Ramy,
yeah.
we not see him walk away. Oh, one last thing I want to say. I'm very curious whether what's going on, why he actually didn't show up. Why do you think he didn't show up? What I did hear was the last thing I heard. I don't know how I forgot about this. He made a statement that he was not allowed to leave his country, like he was being held hostage. Rami was treated like a king in Egypt. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know enough to say. I mean, I'm sure coming over here has got to be plenty of red tape and it's got to be stressful. So I mean, the guest posing was over here, right? Pittsburgh,
Yeah, but the way
Pennsylvania.
he said it, he made it sound like it, it sounded like the country of Egypt would not allow him. It sounded like he was being held hostage uh, in his own country.
Yeah, that's weird. I have
Yeah,
no
it,
idea why.
I mean, because like I said, he didn't even nobody up until the last minute knew what was going on. Big Ramy, is he walking off the stage, Mr. Olympia, this year? Yeah, straightforward, yes or no?
Unfortunately, if he shows up, yes.
You
Yeah,
think so? I
yeah.
I got. I think they're gonna treat him same way they treated Jay Cutler back in the day. They gave him a bye. They gave him a pass the first time, his first offense, but they weren't gonna let it happen again. I don't know.
I hope because I've seen Hadi Chupin lately, and he looks a lot thicker, but I mean not in a good way. He looks like he's
Yeah,
really like trying to play the size game with whatever he's doing, and he's getting too thick now, and I just didn't like what I saw last. So
yeah, we're used to seeing him pretty much looking only a few weeks out all year round. So it's a big change. Let's see what happens. Maybe when all's said and done, he'll be able to match the conditioning with a bigger size. Let's hope and see. Okay, Chris seems to think that if Rami shows up, that he's probably going to be walking away with another title. I think he's going to have to more show up. I think they're going to treat him like they treated Jake Cutler in 2008. And guess we're gonna have to wait and see. The last thing I want to wish Chris congratulations as a baby on the way.
oh yeah, thank you very much.
How far away?
We're expecting December 16th.
Okay, we'll keep everybody informed what's going on. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if you're watching this video on Muscle Central, make sure you go over to Chris's channel, Buffy the Iron Slayer. He has a lot of great content up there. Check out all his videos. He has check out all his great content. And if you're watching it over at Buffy the Iron Slayer, get over here to Muscle Central and check out my content. Uh, I'm gonna say goodbye, Chris. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. Adios.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Take care.